My name is Jesse Schaefer. I'm the farm manager of Jones Valley Teaching Farm's downtown urban farm. You're looking at more than a decade's worth of work. We started here back in 2007 when we first broke ground on the site. And ever since then, it's been growing and changing over time. As an organization, Jones Valley Teaching Farm started in 2002 originally with the goal of just doing urban farming work in the city. Over time, we realized that our focus really was education at the core of what we wanted to do. So in 2007, when we started up this site, the urban farm here is about 2 to 3 acres. And the site was meant as a place to both grow a lot of food and also train people to learn how to do urban farming and urban gardening work. That's why we built our community garden plots right over here, and those serve as an opportunity for people in the community to grow their own vegetables. That said, in 2012, we doubled down on our focus on education and specifically invested in the public school system of Birmingham, where we founded the Good School Food Initiative. At that point, the idea was to build more of these microcosms of urban farming and urban gardening at public schools across the city. So we started initially with Glen Iris Academy, and since 2012, we've expanded now to 7 different public schools across the city, all of which ranging from K through 8 and now into Woodlawn High School, where students who are in the feeder pattern of the public schools can end up feeding into Woodlawn High School. So going from garden scale as a child to full scale urban farm in high school. That programming that we do at all the schools is not so much new and extra, but rather teaching core curriculum. So the sort of things that students would be learning in the classroom, using the gardens to teach those things, whether it be STEM education to history, all those sorts of things, but doing them in the garden. Using the garden as an outdoor classroom and also known as a farm lab, where science and learning happen, but in a garden and outdoor setting. That said, this site right here sort of helps to subsidize the operations at all the other sites. So at the other sites, they're gardening, they're producing food, and they host their own little student-run farmers markets. So the students get the entrepreneurial aspect of selling their own veggies to community members. That means their staff, teachers, parents, everybody who's coming to pick them up after school. But while they can grow some produce there, we help to grow a lot of that produce in larger quantities so that they can sell more of their produce to the schools. And that's an opportunity to just get our produce out to different sites and to help them be able to get more produce to the communities on the site where they know these students and they know the programming going on. Like 2 weeks ago, the students at Phillips Academy, which is down the street from us, they came to the site and they were building solar cookers. So that's a part of their curriculum. They basically the opportunity to learn about how light refracts and how we sort of like the ozone effect of having light come in and then trapping it to create heat. And what better place to do it than outside on the farm. So they came over and they used the actual site to just physically build these small sort of solar cookers, and then they got to put in things that might, whether it was like making little s'mores or even just like heating up. I'm trying to think what they tried to heat up. I feel like they tried to heat up certain ones of our vegetables just to see what the impact of the heat would be on our vegetables. But it's sort of programming that would already be happening. One good example is that at one school where they're trying to teach math, they'll take seeds that they're going to have to pick out to be able to put in the ground. They're going to go count them all together and like organize them by sets, because they only need a certain number of seeds to put in one part of the garden, certain number of seeds of another variety, and then they can add them together and do simple math and stuff like that, but using these things like seeds and objects that are relevant to the farm as a way to teach those things. History is a great example. So, right, the history of food in the South is a complex and very hard one. I would say that it's like a good example is that a lot of the foods that we try and grow in the gardens are foods that are culturally relevant to the communities that we serve, right? So working in the city, generally speaking, the student population we work with is very much majority Black. And so we are focused on growing crops that are culturally relevant to those communities. Or at Avondale Elementary, where there's a larger Hispanic and Latinx population, again, growing culturally relevant vegetables. So that means if we're growing an heirloom okra, right, an okra that's been grown by 4 centuries by people in this community, right, talking about that and talking about how that links back to the history of where that food came from, right? okra came from West Africa, right? How did that come over? That came over through the process of slavery, right? And trying to engage with these subjects that are really hard, but dealing with them in the classroom setting and making them more experiential, because we can't disconnect food from culture, from experience, from history. And so using the garden is a way to teach about those things, and hopefully in a powerful way that is meaningful and then connects people to their food currently. Because I think a big issue is that, like, myself included and friends of mine, a lot of people don't even know how to cook. So we can get them fresh vegetables, but at the end of the day, if they don't know how to cook those fresh vegetables, it doesn't really matter. So getting, like, in the process of learning about your history, then you're also, like, learning about how you actually process these foods and how we cook them, and then you have the opportunity to do it yourself, and then you bring that back and you're like, hey, I want okra tonight. And that's a conversation starter that then happens at the dinner table as well. Food that we produce here, we grow a lot of food, so it doesn't just go to the schools. So one way that we move a lot of our produce, like I said, is through student-run farmers markets. Students get to sell our produce at their schools. They get the experience of, like, learning about the pricing, about quality control, about managing bunch size, all different sorts of things like that, and then the actual step of selling it to their community. That said, when we're growing over 10,000 pounds of food annually on this small site, that can't all be sold through small little farmers markets at the schools. So another way that we sell it, we have an on-site produce stand. It's a pay what you can, take what you need honor system. There's just a mailbox there. No one staffs it. We have produce pretty much, it is open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5 p.m. And during those hours, no one staffs it. We have produce in a cooler there, and you pick what you want, and then you pay what you can based on the suggested pricing. We try to keep the suggested pricing generally in the realm of what Walmart prices their things at, so that it makes it accessible to the community. So that's one way that we move produce. And again, a lot of people worry about honor systems. They're like, do you trust it? Does it work? The reality is that we find that, generally speaking, whatever is taken out of there, usually money adds up at the end of the day. That said, the other thing is, the system might not work everywhere, but we've had a culture of a produce stand on this site for nearly 10 years. So people are used to it. People assume that's how it works, and they know how to deal with it.
How much do you move through that?
It's hard to know exactly, because we keep really detailed records, but once things get harvested, our record keeping for how they get distributed, unless they're being wholesale or pepper placed, it's hard to, like, know the exact quantities. But I mean, percentage wise, guesstimate out of how much produce we're moving, I can't imagine more than maybe 10% max. It's definitely still a small piece. So that's one component. Another component is the Pepper Place Farmers Market. That's a large way that we move produce. Right over there, that's a way for us pretty much, we do harvest multiple times a week, but that's a huge way for us to move a lot of produce on a week-to-week basis. Then other than that, so between the produce stand, the student-run farmers markets, the Pepper Place Market, then we also sell to chefs, direct marketing to chefs. So chefs who are willing, who, number one, understand our mission and are devoted to our mission, because at the end of the day, if a chef is focused on a farmer who's producing a lot of food, right, they're trying to make that farmer work for what their production needs are. And at the end of the day, we're teaching farms, so we grow a diversity of crops, and we are not always growing the high-end specialty crop that they're looking for. Our quality is high, but sometimes they might want us to grow a really specific type of heirloom. And the reality is, what we want to be growing is stuff that will educate people and explore new types of crops. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but the chefs that we work with are ones that are willing to come to us, willing to work around the produce we grow, and, like, working around our hours and supporting our mission. So that means that it's not too hard actually to recruit chefs to do that. We pretty much, most of the high-end chefs that you can think of that are downtown Birmingham buy from us. These days, a lot of the common ones are Trattoria, Bottega, Batola, Highlands, Chez Fanfan, Ovenbird, Urban Standard. That's just a couple to name a few. There's a whole bunch more. And it's just really nice, friendly chefs who are down to come to the farm, pick up direct from us, and usually it's harvested day of or the day before. So it's real fresh stuff, and they can get, like, a good price for really high quality and not have it go very far, so they know the quality's gonna be good when it gets there. Additionally, we donate a lot of produce. So we donate to other organizations doing like-minded work usually, but also to the food bank as well, different things like that. We've worked with veterans organizations, church organizations, urban ministries over in West End. Really just depends, but we usually have a certain amount of excess, and we try to keep that excess always going to people rather than our compost. Compost isn't the worst thing, right? It'll turn back into soil if we have to dump it, but ideally we want it to get to people.
Right.
Programming, the student-run farmers markets, produce stand, Pepper Place Farmers Market, and chefs. And then we do special events as well occasionally. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of ways to get involved as someone in the community. So one way, which is hard to ask of people, I would say, is volunteering. But we always take volunteers Tuesdays and Fridays, 9 to 12 and 2 to 5. Morning and afternoon shifts. You don't have to go for the whole morning or the whole afternoon, just any time during that. It's a drop-in situation. You show up 9 to 12, 2 to 5, Tuesdays and Fridays, we'll put you to work. There'll be work to do. So that's always an option for people who want to get directly involved in the nitty-gritty, want to garden a little bit, maybe learn a little bit, and probably get their hands on some tasty veggies. So that's one. Number two, generally speaking, is to come to our produce stand. Get fresh produce for a really cheap price, and it's sort of like I would say it's unfortunate that it's a well-kept secret, but you have access to really fresh produce north side of downtown anytime you want, Monday through Thursday. The whole site is a public site. The reality is you can show up anytime you want and walk around, explore, check it out. That's always open to you. We like having this space. We have these wooden fences, but to call them a fence is a strong word. They're really a place that you can walk over, pick some berries, enjoy yourself. So that's another thing. Another way is coming to those student-run farmers markets. So the biggest thing, a lot of people think that they're just for the schools, but people who live in Avondale or people who live near Oliver, we love, all we want is for people to be able to come by and just get our produce there, and that gets an opportunity for them to be more part of their community that's around them, the school community there, and engage with the produce and engage with students. It's an opportunity for students to get the experience to sell things to actual community members. So that's a great thing as well. Then we love seeing people at the Pepper Place Farmers Market. We have a hardcore crew of people who show up every week at 7 a.m. We love those customers. We love customers who come anytime, and we want people to come to the farmers market, even if they're not going to buy things. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to explore local food and a new local economy. So just showing up there and saying hello and checking out our produce and taking pictures, posting them to Instagram, letting people know that we're on there. It's a really big, our produce stand has thrived a lot this year because just from Instagram posts, just people sharing information and showing that that we're out here and they can get fresh produce anytime they want on the north side of town. A lot of people work downtown and they're blocks away and they have no idea. So I would say those are the main ways to get involved. And then we have a couple of dinners that we host. We do fundraiser dinners and stuff like that. And there's more information about that on our website, but we're trying to make more democratic fundraising opportunities where people who really want to support us can basically host these dinners. They're called gather dinners, and they get to host them at their house and then invite their friends over. Everybody donates $20, $50, whatever. And it's an opportunity to just show support and hook up with the work that we're doing.
Yeah.